Hey guys, this is Yuvraj from Brainstorm Force, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the schema type that is one of the most popular schema types and also one of the most confusing schema types. Obviously, there's no points to guessing what schema I'm talking about. You've already seen the title and the thumbnail of the video and also the opening slide. I'm talking about the review schema, and I'm going to show you how to add it to your website, pages, and posts using Schema Pro in this video. If you've been confused by the review schema, hopefully all your questions will be answered in this video. And if you're excited to learn about the review schema and how you can start utilizing the review schema on your website, pages, and posts, make sure to hit the thumbs up on this video and also subscribe to our channel, because this is not the only video we create. We create a lot of helpful videos which will help you level up your knowledge about WordPress. So make sure you're subscribed and also hit the bell icons so you can receive notifications about whenever we upload new videos to this channel. Okay, coming to the review schema itself. Now, most of you have already seen the benefits or the results of using the review schema on your pages and posts. I'll show you some examples. So this is the next simple query I made in Google. iPhone 12 review. The iPhone 12 just came out a couple of weeks ago, probably at the date of this recording. And as you can see, some websites are already ranking in Google with star ratings, which is very attractive. And it helps their results stand out from the competing results. This is another example, Rode NTG mic review. So I just made a simple query in Google about a review, and even the first result has some sort of ratings and review attached to it, which makes it stand out. So this is one more example. I searched for Enola Holmes review, which is a movie that recently came out. And apart from the star ratings, which I can see in a couple of results with the ratings and number of votes, the reviews are also coming up in the knowledge graph, which is another benefit of having the properly marked up review schema on pages and posts. So all this is easy to understand and follow, but the confusion starts when you try to add the review schema on your website, pages, or posts. So let's open Google's official guidelines about the review schema and see if there's any confusions that we have to deal with. Okay, so these are the review snippet guidelines from Google. I'll leave a link down in the description for this particular webpage so you can check it out anytime you like. And if I read through the guidelines, this is what it says. A review snippet is a short excerpt of a review or a rating from a review website, usually an average of the combined rating scores from many reviewers. When Google finds valid reviews or rating markups, we may show a rich snippet that includes stars and other summary info from reviews or ratings. In addition to the text of the review, a rating is an evaluation described on a numeric scale, such as 1 to 5. Review snippets may appear in rich results or knowledge graph panels, which I showed you. I showed you the rich results and the knowledge graph panel as well. You can supply ratings for the following content types and subtypes. This is the part where it gets confusing, because earlier review type schema acted as an independent schema type. You did not have to have any of these schemas on your page to have the review schema. So you could just throw up a page, put the review schema, and then the page would show up with star ratings, hopefully. So this has now changed in probably the past 1.5 years. I don't know the exact timeline, but when Google changed the guidelines, it says that you can only have the review type schema when you have something like this or one of these schemas on your page as well. So you cannot have just the review schema on your page. You have to have the review schema either with a book schema, course schema, event, how-to, local business, movie, product, recipe, or software app, or their subtypes. So this is where it gets confusing because a lot of people don't understand how to add the review schema properly on their websites. Now, there is one exception. If you go to the technical guidelines section here, there's one exception that Google clearly states. If a review snippet is for a local business or an organization, you must follow these additional guidelines. Pages using local business or any other type of organization structured data are ineligible for star review feature. Let me emphasize, ineligible for star review feature if the entity being reviewed controls the review about itself. So what this means is that if you are the one controlling the reviews about yourself, you are ineligible for ratings or reviews in the rich results. That means if you have a local business and you just post a review about your own service, that is not allowed. Or even if you do it, Google will not consider those markup for rich results, and you will not appear in the rich results just because you added that markup, because the reviews has to come from a third party or other real users of your service. So I hope that solves a bit of a confusion about the review schema. And when we get into the process itself, then things will become even more clearer. So let's start by going back to our website, and I'll show you how to start adding the review schema on your pages and posts. Okay, so I'm in my website, and let's start the process of adding the review schema to our pages and posts by heading to Settings, Schema Pro, because Schema Pro is the product that we're going to use to add the review schema to our pages and posts and our website. So this is the screen that you'll see. It's the all schemas or the schemas screen. So all the schemas that you create with Schema Pro will be visible somewhere here. And currently it's empty because I haven't created any schemas, and we'll create a new schema by clicking the add new button, which is right here. So this is the schema selection screen. And here we select the kind of schema that we are trying to add to our page or post. In this case, we're going to add or select the review schema, and we'll click the next button. Now these are the targeting options, and these options help us decide on what pages and posts the schema should go on. These are very important because obviously you won't have review schema on all the pages on your website, and these options are precisely what you need to configure those pages that you want to add the schema on. So the rules are divided into two types, or the targeting options are divided into two types. You have inclusion options, which is the enable on, and you have exclusion options, which are exclude from. So the idea is that you select or create some rules here, and all the pages, posts, categories, taxonomies, archive pages that qualify these rules get the schema, and all the pages, posts, archives, taxonomies, or whatever you configure here in the exclusion options do not get the schema. So it gives you precise controls over on what pages the schema should go on. So let me show you some of the options inside the inclusion options. So you have options to select all singulars, that means all the pages and posts on your website, the front page of your website, all posts of your website, all pages of your website, and custom post types will also be visible if you have a plugin that creates custom post types, or if you create custom post types. And also you have the option of selecting specific pages, posts, archives, or taxonomies or categories. So this is the option that I'm going to use because I have created a review type category on my website, and I want to add the review schema only on those pages. So I'm going to select this, and a search box will open up, and I'll type here review, and Schema Pro has now detected that the category all singulars from reviews. So that means the category reviews is being detected, and when I select it, all the singulars inside the category will get the review schema, which is what I want. So I'll select that option, and I'll click the next button because I don't want to have any of the pages excluded, but the same options are available in the exclusion options as well. So I'll click the next button to go to the next step. Okay, the schema is now created. So let's complete the setup by clicking the complete setup button and head to the next page or post. So this is the edit schema page where you can edit and configure your schema precisely on how it should appear on your pages and posts. So let me quickly run down all the options that you have here. The first option is that you can name the schema differently. For example, if you have multiple types of products on your website, or you review different categories of products, you can have different schemas for each of those categories and change the name by clicking and typing anything you want. For example, let's say review watches. So I can save this, and whenever I check the all schemas page, I can quickly identify that this particular review is, or this particular schema is about the watches reviews. The next options are the targeting options. They're the same thing that we just checked out in the previous post or previous pages, and you can configure and change them anytime you want. The next and the most important options are the all schema fields. This is where you configure how Schema Pro maps, or what data does Schema Pro take from your website or by you manually inputting it and post it in the schema. So there are a few things to understand before we start checking out the actual fields. So let me give some context so you understand how Schema Pro works and how it saves you time. So the idea is that Schema Pro works on a templating based system. So what you do is, when we create any kind of schema, in this case we are creating a review type schema, you create one template and then you can add it to multiple pages and posts, which is what we just did. We created the review type schema and we added a particular category, and this schema that we create and configure here will go to all the pages and posts in that category. Now I will, or you will also retain control to customize the schema on each page and post, which I'll show you when we go into the post. But the idea is you can create templates that can go to hundreds of pages, thousands of pages, and then you can change or customize the schema data on those pages and posts as well. The next thing to understand is how Schema Pro saves you time. Schema Pro saves you time by giving you a variable mapping system. Now what that means is that when you have certain fields that you want to configure, Schema Pro gives you access to certain kinds of variables that you can configure, and then Schema Pro will dynamically use the data from the variables to fill in the schema, and then the schema will be complete on your page without you having to do anything. So when we get into the fields themselves, when we discuss these, I'll show you some examples of the different kinds of variables you have. But in essence, you have 4 different kinds of variables. So let me quickly demonstrate all the options or the different kinds of variables you have access to by taking the review description field as an example. So if I click the field right here, you see all these options come up. Now these can be divided into 4 different types. The first type I would call the metadata. So you have access to the site metadata and also the post metadata. So you can assign the review description field to any of these meta fields, and Schema Pro will dynamically pick that data and add it to the schema. And as you saw probably, the review description was mapped to the content of the post. So anything you have in the content of your post will automatically be added to the review description. This will go for every post that you have on your website or every post that you add the review schema on. So you don't have to do anything. Schema Pro takes care of everything. So let's leave it at that. The next option I was talking about is other custom fields. So if you're using custom fields via plugin, or if you've created some custom fields yourself, you can map the data from those custom fields to the schema itself. That's also pretty powerful. The next option is the new custom field option. So if there's some field that you need to enter the data for manually on every page and post, then you can choose the new custom field option, which is also available or also visible on certain fields already. So what that allows you to do is have a text-based field in the post itself, and you can enter the data, and Schema Pro will save it in a custom field. So you don't have to worry about it. If the new custom field option opens up, all you have to remember is you have to enter it manually. The next option is the fixed text option. So certain fields might have just a simple type of field. For example, if you are adding contact information in a certain page or post, then you can have the fixed type field because that does not change, and you can then add it just generally inside these options, and you don't have to customize on the page or post. So for the review description, I'll go back to the content option, and now I hope you understand how Schema Pro works, how it saves you time, and how do you map the existing fields to existing data or define new data that it can be mapped to. Now, since that is out of the way, let's start talking about the fields themselves and how to configure the review type schemas. So if you remember, the review type schema has to be associated with one of these options or one of these schema types. It cannot exist independently, as I showed you in the guidelines. So the option where we select what type of product or schema we are associating the review schema is this field. This is where we'll select what type of schema we are trying to associate with the review schema. So if you open this up, you have a bunch of options open up, and these are the similar options that you saw in the Google guidelines. You have product, book, course, event, local business, recipe, software application, movie, and organization. So these are the exact same fields that we talked about, and the schema will change depending on what option you choose in this field. Let me quickly show you what the fields will become when we choose the product field. As you saw, when I selected the product field, a few product related options now come up on the screen. So I'll quickly show you what the fields are. It's the product name, product brand name, product image, product URL, product description. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing extraordinary, very simple to understand and follow. So I'll quickly show you all the options for each respective field, and then we'll select one and complete the process with that. So let me show you the book type schema. And these are the options for the book. So book name, book ISBN, book author name, same as review item is now. So these are all the fields for the book type item or the book type schema. The next is the course option. And for the course, we have course name, course description, course organization name. Next option is the event. For event, we have event name, event image, event start date, event end date, event location name, street address, and few other options. Offer price, currency, and few other options come up till here. We have the event type options, and all of these are simple to understand. It's nothing complicated. And if you want to learn more about, or if you have any doubts about what are these fields, then remember, we have done videos on all of these schema types differently, not the review type schema, but the particular event type schema, where we explain all the fields in detail. So if you have any confusions, we'll leave links down in the description to a playlist for Schema Pro, which contains all the videos for all the schema types we've already done. So you can check it out and have all your doubts cleared. Let's go to the next option, which is the local business. So local business has similar options, local business name, image, telephone number, address, locality, postal code, and all these options. Remember, the local business and the organization type is not qualified for the star ratings if the review is supplied by you. So local business and organization will not get the rich results if you are the one putting in the reviews. Let's go to the next option, which is the recipe option. So recipe has similar fields. It has a recipe name, photo, description, author name, preparation time, cook time, and some other keywords which are pretty simple to understand. You have keywords, categories, cuisine, calories, ingredients, steps, and all simple fields. Nothing too complicated. Again, we have done detailed videos about all the schema types. So if you have any confusions, you can refer to those videos. I'll leave links in the description and also in the I button or the annotations card if you can check it out. Next is the software application. Let's see all the fields here. So the software application has software application name, operating system, category, and a bunch of other options. Nothing too complicated to understand, pretty simple. Next is the movie option. So movie has movie name, same as movie image, movie date, director name, review item type, and these are the review item types. The movie director name is the last option that we have to see. Next option is the organization type. So organization has similar fields as the local business, and just remember, you are not qualified for the review schema or the star ratings in the results if you use this, because you are the one supplying the reviews. The reviews has to come from users of your service, or reviews from real users of your business or real customers of your business. So all these options, I hope they are clear to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the movie option for this example, because I just showed you the movie example when we started this video. So it'll make an easy process to understand or explain it to you how we will configure the schema on this page post. So let's assume all the posts that I was talking about, or all the posts in the review category, are about movies. Taking that assumption in mind, I'm going to start configuring these fields here right now. And I'll tell you my mindset as well, so that you can understand how to start thinking about adding schema to your pages and posts. So the first option is the movie name, which is configured to the title of the post. So if I have a post about a specific movie, the title of that post will go into the schema as the movie name. So I have the option of changing it right now, but I'm not going to change it here. I have the option of configuring it on the page and post itself, which I'm going to show you. So I'm not going to change it right now. The next option is the movie same as. Now in this field, you have to provide a link to another blog post or another page that has the same information, or that can help verify that the information you're providing about the movie is complete and is accurate. So it can be a Wikipedia link or a fan base URL. So if you hover over this, you'll see all the details about this specific field, how you need to configure it. And also we have a link to the review type schema blog post here. And if you click on this, a blog post on our website will open up with all the details about the review type schema and how to configure it. So I'll leave the link to this blog post in the description as well. So if you're not a Schema Pro user, even then you can check this out and understand how to configure and start configuring all the different review types on your page or post. So let's get back to the post itself. And talking about the next option, which is the movie image. So it's an image about the movie. So currently it's set to the featured image. So if I have a featured image on my page or post, Schema Pro will catch that or take that and just put it in the movie image schema. I do have the option of changing it, so most of the time this should work for me. The next option is the movie date option, and it's the date where the movie or when the movie was released. So it's set to a new custom field, and we'll configure it on the post itself, because for all the different kinds of movies that come out, we have to select a different kind of date. The next option is the movie director name, and obviously different movies will have mostly different directors, so we'll configure it on the post itself. So that's why the new custom field option is perfect. We'll not change it. The next option is the review item field. So what are we reviewing? So we'll enter the name of the movie here, and again we'll configure it. Again, we can configure it to the title of the post right here. So if I click this drop down menu and select the title, so the review item will be configured to the title of the post. And most of the time, if I'm writing a review about a movie, I'll have the movie name in the title or the movie name as the title itself. So this works out for me. Next option is the review item image. So what I can do is go here and select an image, maybe a fixed image or an image URL, or I can leave it to the new custom field so that I can upload a custom image on the post itself. So I'll leave it to that. The next option is the review description and the review body, both of which are set currently to the content, which makes sense to me. Otherwise, we can change it on the post if needed. So the review description and review body both just mean the description of the review or some details about the review, so the content works fine. The next option is the review date. When did you review the movie? This is the date where you configure it. So it's set to the published date of the post, which makes sense because when you publish the post is most likely the day that you actually reviewed the movie. So this makes perfect sense. We don't have to change it for any post. The next option is the review rating option. We'll check it out on the post itself. The review type is set to person, and you can set it to an organization. If your business or if your website is about an organization or run by an organization, you should select the organization option. Or if it's a solo website, you're running it yourself, you can choose the person option. The next option is the reviewer name, and it's set to the author name. So the author name of the post itself will be added to the reviewer name field, and if you want to change it, you can change it. Otherwise, this works fine for me. The next option is the publisher name. So the publisher name can be different. If it's an organization type website, the publisher will be the organization, and the review type or the reviewer name will be the name of the person who reviewed the movie. So it can be different, but it can be the same. So depending on how your website is structured, you can change it. Next option is the URL. So this is where you enter the URL of the post or the page itself where the review lives. So it's already set to the permalink of the post, so we don't have to change anything. Schema Pro will take care of it. So these were all the fields and how to start configuring them. Obviously, we still need to configure some of these fields on the post itself. So I'll save the schema, then we'll head to a new post and I'll show you how to configure the rest of the schemas. Then we'll test the schema to see if it works. So let's go here and click the update button to save the schema. Okay, so I've opened up a post on my website and it's the Matrix movie number 6 review. Obviously, it's a fictional movie. The 6th one hasn't come out yet and I don't know if it'll ever come out. So just for the example, let's go with it. And the review is it's just dummy content here. And this is the content of the post. This is the headline of the post and it's the Gutenberg editor. So the document settings and the block settings are on the right hand side of the post itself. So where is the schema, or where do we configure the schema? All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of the page and here you will see the schemas. So the watches part I added as an example. So Schema Pro is showing it up here so that you can understand what kind of schema or what is the name of the schema that we are configuring. So just ignore the watches part. It was just an example, but now it's here. So coming to the fields themselves, as you can see, all the fields that we configured inside the schema are also available on the page and we have the option of editing them. All the options are actually editable, even the ones that are grayed out right now. I'll show you how to do that. But let's first talk about the elephant in the schema, which is the red icons or the red fields that are showing up. So what do we mean by that? Why is these fields showing up in red? So these are first the mandatory fields, as you can see with the red icon or the red asterisk icon. These are mandatory fields to configure. So this is a feature of Schema Pro. Whenever it detects that you are not filling in the mandatory fields correctly or they are empty, Schema Pro tries to warn you that your schema will be rejected by doing this. So the idea is that once we fill in this information, the field will turn gray or black as the other fields are, and you will not have to worry about that. So this is just an interesting feature in Schema Pro, and Schema Pro has another interesting feature which can help you save a bit of a headache with when dealing with schema. So if you enable that feature, what Schema Pro will do is that if you save a schema on your page or post that does not have all the schema filled in correctly, so if you have any of these red fields and you save the schema, it will not add the schema onto the page to avoid issues with Google, because many times Google can penalize you for that when you don't have the right schema, and even if you correct it, it can take some time for Google to actually start using your schema and displaying it in the rich results. So to avoid those issues, it's better to not have the schema rather than having incorrect schema. So that feature helps you with that. So now let's talk about the fields or the configuration of the fields. What do we need to do? Most of the fields we already discussed. The movie name is set to the title, the movie image is set to featured image, movie director name. We'll just add all this information here. So let me show you how to configure the fields which are empty right now, and also how to customize some of these fields which are already configured or mapped to certain metadata of our page or post. So let's say, for example, I don't want the movie name to be the title of the post because the title of the post is Matrix 6 review, and I want the name or the movie name to be Matrix 6 only. So what I can do is I can just click this cross icon or times icon right here, and the field will become editable. And I can just type in Matrix 6. And when I save the settings, this setting will be saved. Now the beauty of Schema Pro is that any changes that I make on the post is limited to the post itself. That means the setting that I change right here, right now, will only affect this particular post and not the entire template. So you have complete control over the schema of all the pages that you add the schema on. So you can add the review schema to 100 or even thousands of pages and then go in and change minute settings on each of those posts if needed, and that gives you complete control. It's mind-blowing and it's pretty amazing to have that level of control over schema. And the best part is, anytime you change any of these settings, any of these options, the schema is automatically updated, so your schema is always up to date. There is no manual work required. Okay, so the next field that I would like to cover is the movie image field. Now it's set to the featured image, but it's still showing up in red because the featured image is empty. I just did it on purpose to demonstrate that Schema Pro can detect even if the field is not configured correctly, even if it's a metadata or a mapped field. So let's fix that by setting up a featured image. Okay, so I just added a stock image to the featured image of this post because obviously I had trouble finding real images of the Matrix 6 movie. So to demonstrate how Schema Pro detects and configures or changes these fields, what I'm going to do is publish this post and refresh this page. So let me do that. Okay, so I published the post and I refreshed the page, and as you can see, Schema Pro now detects that the movie image field, which is the featured image, is now populated. So the field is now in black as the other fields are. So the two other fields that I would like to show you how to configure is the movie date first. So if I go here I have the option of choosing a date using a date picker because it has to be the date the movie came out. So let's say the movie is coming out on the 31st of October, and I'll select that date and it will be added to this field correctly. The next option I'd like to cover is the review rating. This is where you rate the movie itself. This is your rating or your score of what you think the movie deserves as a score. So you have the option of choosing a star rating directly or just choosing the stars by clicking these buttons right here. So I'll just set it up to 4.5 and that's it. So the rest of the fields, we've already covered them in detail. There's nothing much to cover. The review item image has to be an image. The movie director name has to be the name of the director. And the movie same as has to be a URL that verifies. So obviously we don't have an actual URL that can verify the existence of the Matrix 6 movie. So I'll fill it with a dummy URL right now. So I'll fill in all these fields and we'll come back in a second, and then we'll test the schema in the Google Rich Snippet testing tool to see if Schema Pro has done a good job and the schema is identified correctly by Google. Okay, so I filled in all the information that was missing. I added the movie same as, I added the director name, I added the review item image, and all the information. I published and updated the post, and I also refreshed this page. So Schema Pro now detects all the fields are filled in correctly. So there are no fields in red giving you a warning sign about incomplete schema. Now, before we update the post and we go and check the validity of the schema, there's one more thing that I'd like to change, which is the review description field. I like to change it from the content to the excerpt of this post. So let me do that right now. I'll click this icon and I'll click the wrench icon once again, and I'll select the excerpt icon. And if you're wondering, I already just added a tiny bit of excerpt here so that it's not blank. So I'll update the post, and why am I doing this? It will become clearer in a second when we test the schema. So the post is now updated. I'll just refresh the post. So I made the change, I updated the post, and I refreshed the backend just in case to show you that the setting is now confirmed and changed. Now let's open up the post in the front end of the website and we'll test the schema out. And I'll also explain why I made this important change right here. Alright, this is how the post will look like to someone who is visiting my website, except for this admin bar, of course. And it's a regular post, and now we have to check if the schema is added correctly to this page or post. And Google's official tool to test schema is called the Google Rich Snippet Testing Tool. So Schema Pro has a handy little feature, which is this button right here. And what it does is when you click this button, I'm going to do it right now, that it opens up the Google Rich Snippet Testing Tool and automatically starts testing the URL that you click the button on. So it saves you a bunch of time in manually having to do this process. So the analysis process has already begun. So let's wait for it to complete, and then we'll check out if the schema is done. And while as I was speaking, the page was successfully tested for schema. And as you can see, page is eligible for rich results with a big green tick. So that means all the schema that we have added to the page using Schema Pro is now valid. So let us check all the kinds of schema that were added to the page. We have the breadcrumb schema, which we have covered in another video. We have critic reviews, which is automatically added because we are talking about movies. And the field that I was talking about, why I changed the description to the excerpt and not the content itself, because the description field here in the critic reviews field has a limit of 200 characters. So if I didn't change the field, you'll probably get an error here. So just a reminder, if you're also configuring the movie schema, this is something you have to remember if you want to be appearing in the rich results for critic reviews. And next, the most important part, or the part that we made the entire video on, the films and the review snippets. So the review snippets is showing up and the films is also showing up. So let's check out the details, and all the details in the film schema is showing up, and also the review snippets, all the information that we configured inside Schema Pro is showing up perfectly here. So as you saw, it was so easy to add reviews of all kinds to your websites, pages and posts using Schema Pro. The entire process is quite automated. You don't have to do a lot of manual labor. A lot of the process is simplified by using Schema Pro, and that saves you a bunch of time, headaches, and anytime you go back and update any of the pages and posts on your website, Schema Pro will take care of the rest and update the schema entirely. So that saves you even more time and just keeps your website compliant with schema guidelines. So let's do a quick recap on what we've learned today. We started with the review schema, the description. I showed you some examples of the review schema in the search results, what they are. We went over the guidelines. Then we started creating the review schema using Schema Pro. We initiated the process. We set up some targeting rules, and I set the category to just the review categories. And then we went on the edit schema page. I showed you all the options, what they are, or the different kinds of schemas or review schemas that you have to add with the review schema. It is not a standalone schema anymore. Then we configured it, and then we went on the post, and all the fields that were important to configure, we configured them on the post. most of the fields were configured in the settings themselves, and now we tested the schema and all is perfect. It just works fine, seamlessly, and the video is probably a little long, but when you do this process, it will take just a few minutes of your time, and that just shows how powerful and how efficient Schema Pro is when dealing all kinds of schema. So Schema Pro is not limited to just the review schema. Obviously, we cover a lot of different kinds of schema. So you can have a schema-rich website in probably a day's worth of work. And that means you can start appearing in results pretty soon for a lot of different kinds of queries. And that is pretty powerful. So that was the video, guys. I hope I explained all the features of Schema Pro thoroughly and well enough so that you understood everything in detail. And if you still have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. So if you liked what you saw today, if you liked the video, if you liked Schema Pro, the review schema, or my explanations about how to use Schema Pro, then make sure to just leave a simple thumbs up on the video. It encourages all the team and me to create more helpful content like this. And we do appreciate when you leave a thumbs up on the video, because then we know that we are creating the content that matters to you. So make sure to hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content like this, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon, because we create videos like this on a regular basis. And with the bell icon pressed, we can send you notifications about whenever we upload new videos, and so that you can level up your knowledge. And if you're not a Schema Pro user and you've been watching this video, then don't forget to go to wpschema.com, which is the website for Schema Pro, and take a look at Schema Pro. It's a fantastic plugin that will take your schema game to the next level. And while you're at it, also check out some other amazing products that we make. We are Brainstorm Force. We make the Astra theme. We make Schema Pro. We make Convert Pro, and a bunch of other amazing WordPress products that are used by millions of people around the world. Once again, my name is Yuvraj. You're watching Brainstorm Force's YouTube channel, and I definitely hope to see you in the next video. Till then, take care and stay safe.